She's going to expose me. I can't allow her to.
Eldon repeated in a cold whisper as the last remnants of his conscience were swallowed by a dark, intrusive voice that refused to be silenced. Upstairs, Lovette was strangely calm. No tears, no screams. She quietly packed her suitcase. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet. She moved as though she were a thief in the night, gathering the pieces she couldn't bear to leave behind, desperate to escape before fear convinced her to stay and bend to Eldon's will. She was suddenly overcome by lightheadedness. She staggered backwards, catching herself against the bed. Slowly, she lowered herself onto the edge of the mattress, struggling to regain her composure. Lovette stared at the half-packed suitcase lying open on the floor. Half her life was still in the wardrobe, in the drawers. 12 years of marriage reduced to deciding which dress mattered. The house no longer felt like home. Not warm, not safe. Every small sound felt sharp. A clap of thunder made her heart leap. Footsteps downstairs made her tense. She realized she was listening for him. The affair had broken her heart. Realizing she was now afraid of her own husband unsettled her even more. Lovette rubbed her arms like she was cold, even though the room was warm. Her phone lay beside her on the bed, its screen dark. She picked it up. Something in her stomach twisted, an instinct she could not explain. Her mind kept replaying the look on Eldon's face downstairs. Not guilt, not shame. Cold and calculating. Like he wasn't thinking about her pain. He was thinking about damage control, about headlines, about himself. She called her father, the man she had always relied on for advice and protection. The phone rang and rang, but he didn't answer. She let the call end and stared at the screen for a moment. Lovette swallowed hard. Then she remembered something her friend Simone once told her over coffee after a bad breakup. If you ever feel unsafe during a fight, record it. Not to use it, just to protect yourself. Lovette had laughed back then. Protect myself from my loving husband? Impossible. Now the memory felt different, heavy, necessary. Her thumb hovered over the voice recorder app. She felt ridiculous for even considering it. He's not dangerous, she told herself. He's just scared, just angry. But another voice inside her whispered, "You did flinch for a reason." She pressed record. The red dot blinked softly. She slipped the phone into her handbag, letting it record, not because she planned anything, just in case. She zipped the suitcase slowly. The sound felt louder than it should have. Downstairs, Eldon was pacing, back and forth, like he couldn't stand still, like something was possessed. Upstairs, Lovette was already dressed in comfortable black leggings and a red and black tie-dye t-shirt. It had been her late mother's favorite, the only item Lovette had kept from her wardrobe. Whenever life became overwhelming, she wore it, believing that somehow her mother's spirit was still watching over her, offering comfort and protection. For a moment, Lovette stood and looked around the room one last time. Photos lined the walls, their wedding day, their Caribbean getaway, Eldon lifting her into a swimming pool while she laughed without a care in the world. Every frame captured what looked like a perfect marriage. She almost broke then, almost convinced herself to go downstairs and pretend everything could still be fixed. But then she remembered the photo of the positive pregnancy test, and Lila's smile, and how young she looked, and something hardened inside her. No, some things don't get fixed, they end. Still, part of her urged her to be rational, to think things through, to be more understanding. But how could she understand a husband who had insisted he wasn't ready to be a father, only to get another woman pregnant? He had stood before God, and everyone gathered in that church, promising to love her, honor her, and remain faithful until death parted them. Back then, she had never believed the people who said politicians were corrupt, untrustworthy, and dishonest. She knew better now. Lovette felt as though the house might open up and swallow her whole. She grabbed the suitcase handle and walked downstairs. Each step felt heavier, as if the house itself were trying to hold her back. Eldon stood in the hallway beside the console table, staring into the open drawer. He didn't turn as she descended the stairs. For a moment, he looked like a stranger in the home they had built together. "I'm going to my dad's," Lovette said quietly. Eldon's fingers tightened around the drawer handle. He didn't answer. She waited. Nothing. "I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow," she continued, "and don't expect me to hide the reason I'm filing for divorce." That made him turn, slowly. His eyes looked tired, but not sad. "You're not thinking straight," he whispered. "I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have." "You'll destroy everything," he said, his voice trailing off. Lovette shook her head. "No, Eldon, you destroyed it. You don't understand what this will do to me." She almost laughed. "To you?" "Yes." The word came out sharp, like he was the victim. Something inside her hardened. "Eldon," she said, "after what you've done, you don't get to play the victim." His jaw tightened. "You're going to ruin my life," he said quietly. "Lovette, I am your husband. Are you forgetting I am a respectable member of Parliament?" Lovette took one step closer, her eyes burning. "Respectable," she repeated with disgust, as though the very word offended her. "Save it." She rolled her head. "You should have conducted yourself like a decent husband and a dignified parliamentarian." Something dark stirred within Eldon, something unfamiliar, something cold. "You don't get to walk away from me." His voice dropped, turning grim. Lovette's pulse quickened, but she refused to let her fear take over. "Yes," she said calmly, "I do." She tried to stay strong in the face of adversity, but inside she began to break. She turned towards the door. Behind her, a drawer slid shut. The sound terrified her. She froze. She turned. The pistol was already in his hand. His hand trembled. His breathing was uneven. "Eldon," she whispered, "what are you planning to do with that?" His eyes drifted to their wedding photograph hanging on the wall. He blinked. "I just need you to listen," he said, his voice unsteady. "You're scaring me." "I'm scared too," he said sharply. "Then let me go." "You're not leaving. Please. If you talk, everything's over." "Eldon, you expect me to carry the burden of your secret?" she said, her voice trembling. "This is as far as you'll carry it," he said coldly. Lovette went rigid. The sheer grimness in his voice was suffocating. It was terrifyingly clear. For a moment, Lovette's mind went blank. Her heart pounded louder with every beat. Her phone beeped twice inside her handbag. Battery low. The recording continued. "Eldon," she said softly, "please." For 1 second, she saw the man she married. Then it vanished. She scrabbled towards the door. "Eldon, don't." A heartbeat later, a gunshot echoed through the home they had built together. Then the house fell silent. Thanks for watching. If you missed the previous episodes, go back and catch up before watching the next one, so you don't miss any important moments. Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're always ready for the next episode.